just because the gun control advocates might be in power in terms of the House, most of the Senate, and the presidency, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of them are having a great time. And today we're going to be reading and reacting to an article that is titled, "Gun Control is a Lost Cause. Come despair with me." Now, the first sentence there, I would agree, gun control is a lost cause. In the modern era of 3D printing, 80%, and just the proliferation of guns that currently exist out there, I would say that gun control is basically impossible to ever truly enact. But let's read this article, let's kind of go through it, and have a little bit of a laugh on this beautiful Sunday. You know, it's a good morning. Sunday morning. Now, I'm going to be reading this article over in Reader View because just look at this. This is what it looks like to try to read this article. Let's start with the fact that there are enough guns in this country so that every man, woman, and child could have one. Add that to a couple of Supreme Court decisions that enshrine gun ownership alongside freedom of speech and freedom of assembly as constitutionally hallowed rights. Now, you know, here's the thing. It's literally, there's only one other amendment before you get to the Second Amendment. That's how the numbers work. So it's pretty, yeah, it's right up there. It's already been up there, but okay. On top of that is the fact that even such modern efforts at the state level to limiting access to guns to people deemed dangerous to themselves have proved ineffective. Yeah, it's almost like gun control laws don't work. No better example of this is the fact that the Indiana red flag law, designed to keep guns out of the hands of mentally unstable people, only temporarily delayed the killer of 8 people in Indianapolis from getting his hands on the weapon he used to take their lives. Gun control advocacy stands high in the ranks of lost causes and futile campaigns alongside legitimating... Isn't that supposed to be legitimizing? I don't know. I'm not a grammar Nazi or anything here, but legitimating polygamy? Maybe I'm wrong there. And scrapping the national anthem for something more singable. The brief flicker of hope that somehow the financial problems of the NRA and the profligate spending of members' dues by its top executives... Wait, did I read that wrong again? And the profligate spending of members' dues by it's supposed to be one of its, right? Okay, maybe not. Might stifle the effectiveness of the opposition to even the most modest efforts to control firearms or reduce their lethality became an iridescent dream, and seemed to prove that the organization itself was never much of a factor in blocking gun control legislation. Yeah, I mean, I would agree on that point. The fact that the NRA has been there for pretty much every major compromise on gun control, whether it's the NFA, machine gun laws, red flag law support, the NRA seems to be there every step of the way when we lose our rights for a compromise. Now, keep in mind, it's not actually a compromise. Every time the gun control people say, you need to compromise with us, what they're saying is, the compromise is, I take a little bit of your rights, and I don't take the rest of them yet. I'll come back for those later. It's not a compromise, you're just only taking a little bit right now instead of taking all of it right now. What kills such efforts in Congress, even in the wake of the unspeakable slaughter of the innocents at Sandy Hook, is the recognition in the minds of politicians that there are voters in their states and districts who are Second Amendment absolutists, whether they be the kind of people who shoot at targets for practice, or those who might shoot at people because of malice or derangement. Ah, yes, you know, the two types of gun owners. You have the people who shoot at targets for practice, and you have the mass murderers, the two types of gun owners. It just seems like they're intentionally trying to spin it as if it's like, ah, yes, we know that all the murderers are on their side, so they're the bad guys because the evil, deadly murderers are on the side of the Republicans. Yep, that's how it works. Now, if we read this next part, so strong is the constituency for firearms ownership in Congress that a law is on the books immunizing gun manufacturers and sellers from lawsuits arising out of the use of their products for mass shootings and mayhem on smaller scale. It is the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act that became effective in 2005. Now, I don't understand why people want this, other than for the fact that they know that it would be a way to bankrupt all gun companies. I don't think anybody that wants to get rid of this and wants to be able to sue gun manufacturers for the actions of private individuals, I don't think they actually think it's going to stop anything. I think what they know would happen is if you could sue every single gun company every time a gun was used in any sort of violence, that they would be able to drive them all out of business. They know for a fact that it is not Toyota's fault when someone drunk drives and Tokyo drifts a fucking Prius onto the on-ramp and kills a bunch of people. The once plausible argument that gun ownership was somehow connected to membership in state militias was cast aside by a Supreme Court dominated by originalists who developed historical amnesia about the Founding Fathers' dread of standing armies and preference for a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, and declared that only the operative phrase in the Second Amendment was, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." It's two separate sentences. They say that the that the militia is necessary, that in order to have a secure state, you need the ability to protect yourself. And then, in order to ensure that that protection is able to stay there, you must not infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms. There's the militia, and then there's the people. The militia is necessary in order to protect the freedom of the state. Then the people must have the ability to become that militia by being able to arm themselves and protect themselves from a government that would wish to infringe upon their rights. That's the entire reason that the founders said no thanks to Europe. That's the whole point. They wanted their own freedom, and they wanted to have the ability for themselves to protect themselves from a government that wished to control them. So then they go on to talk about how they want to pack the courts and how they want to add more people so that they can skew away from the conservatives that have a strong, solid voting majority. I don't know where they're getting this idea from that the conservative gun ownership rights, so the gun rights side, has a strong majority in the Supreme Court. It seems like every month there's a new potentially huge gun case that makes it to the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court's just like, nah, not today. Maybe at some point they will hear a Supreme Court case, but it seems like even though we have what could be a 5-4 or a 6-3 split, it seems like we can't even get the 4 votes needed to hear one of these cases. And for that reason, I really don't understand why they think that it's a conservative packed majority when they don't hear these gun cases that we would want them to hear if they truly were a conservative packed court system. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. You tell me. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And this is where things stand. Daily, weekly, monthly massacres of sizable numbers of victims enabled by a patchwork of ineffective, indifferently enforced state laws and the awesomely destructive firepower of many of the weapons used in these assaults. Bad people are always going to be bad people, and it's almost like people should have figured out when they had cities like Chicago and Detroit where the crime was really bad, right? You know, you had these places that were just absolute dangerous places to live, and they said, you know what's going to fix that? Let's make it a little bit harder to buy guns. And then that didn't work, right? Because it just didn't work. And then they tried to make it a little bit harder, and that didn't work. And then they tried to make it a little bit harder. And, the gun control still isn't working, though, generally in those areas. So they try a little bit more gun control. And then it still isn't working. And then they say, oh, well, we need that gun control to be everywhere. The gun control didn't work, but this time it's going to work, guys. Definitely. We'll get it to work this time. They need to start focusing on the actual socioeconomic issues in the areas and trying to actually fix the problem. Gun control sounds good, and it's the reason that most politicians go for because it's easy. It's easy to write a law saying guns bad. It's hard to write a law that says poor people are now not poor anymore, and crack isn't dangerous anymore, and they could maybe end the war on drugs and try to support mental health programs and things like that. But no, they wouldn't want to do that because that's hard. It would cost money and would require them to actually do something that would potentially work, but maybe not in their term. And it would be a lot harder to get reelected. So, they're not going to actually try to do anything. I don't know, man. Like, I would think that a distinguished professor would at least have someone proofread, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I truly have no actual spelling and grammar skills, which I know is probably possible because I was a science major and not a journalist. If that's even a real job, I don't know. You tell me. But let me know what you guys think about this article down below. You know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace. And by the way, May 8th and 9th, myself, and Armed Scholar, we are going to be doing a meetup down at Route 66. If you want more information, I'm going to have a link to the website that has more information about our meetup. It's going to be awesome down in San Bernardino, California. Route 66 has been a really great sponsor of mine in the past. They've been super helpful for me. They've been just great people to work with. I loved their range. If you're in the area in Southern California, definitely come check it out. If it's a far drive from you, I don't want you to feel forced to come. But, if you're in the area and you just want to come out, shoot a little bit, hang out, maybe rent some of the guns that they're going to have out there, maybe check out some of the displays, the vendors. We're doing a ton of giveaways. Might be just a cool time. Say hello for a little bit, shoot a few guns, and then, we'll see you around, hopefully. But thank you, everyone that's been supporting this channel. I think I speak for Anthony and I both that I don't think either of us thought that we would be at 100,000 subscribers at this point in our careers. Pretty cool to see where we're at. Super cool to see Anthony now working with the Firearms Policy Coalition. That's just awesome. And I'm so thankful for the support that you guys have given us. Thank you.